Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, everybody. Y'all, I am excited. I got we got some testosterone in the house. Oh, I'm gonna bring some estrogen on in a future segment, but we want to hear from the men today. And I'm just thrilled and excited about having these brothers on with me. Powerful men in their own right, work with me in the ministry, in the church, and I think we got three business owners. And professionals, corporate guys. We got married, we got single, we got divorced, we got what's that term y'all use? Complicated. Okay, stop. That's the real. But y'all come on in and say something to me. You all had a bunch of questions, and so what I'm going to do is just so the guys know, when we first started this relaunch of my Lunch and Learn, which we now called Relationship Bootcamp podcast, we had a bunch of questions that people wanted to get some answers from, and you all may be able to answer a few of those. We got questions on, let's see here, starting over in love, dating, learning how to improve relationships, how to deal with difficult family conflict resolution. We got marriage stuff in here, a whole bunch of questions, blended families, conflict in the workplace. As a matter of fact, some of you all, I may actually come back when I do a segment on businesses and entrepreneurship. We're going to be doing different types of relationships through this period. So thank you all for coming on. And what I want to do is let's just introduce our panelists first and foremost. So let's start with you in this order. Lawrence, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us your status, what you do for a living, real quick.
Hi, my name is Lawrence Flowers. I've been married for 11 years, and I work at one of our local broker dealers as a stockbroker.
And has two beautiful daughters who look at me. That sometimes I think they think I'm their granddaddy, but I digress. Elizabeth and what's the other girl's name? Lawrence.
Olivia.
Olivia, two queens of England, Elizabeth and Olivia. Hey Trey, go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
What's up, y'all? My name is Trey Mays. I've been married for 7 years. I have 3 kids, just had a newborn. Got Kamari, my oldest, Jason, the middle child, and I got Ian, the baby boy. What I do as a career, I work for the VA now, but not for long. I'll be transitioned to a full-time barber November 1st at Mr. Pompadour at a shop called Mr. Pompadour in Raleigh. So I'll be diving into full blast entrepreneurship on November 1st.
Awesome. Well, I hope since you just put it out there on social media that your company know that you're planning on quitting. But they do now.
This is my 2 weeks notice.
Hey, Dietrich. Glad to have you. Y'all. So if y'all don't like me having a motorcycle, y'all can blame Dietrich for that. But I digress. And if y'all don't like me turning into a sneakerhead, you can also blame Dietrich for that. Why is Pastor wearing sneakers and high heels and they ain't high heels?
No, you ain't on high heels.
No, sir.
Even though no, they got sneakers with you got all kind of sneakers these days. So, but Dietrich, introduce yourself, man.
Hi, I'm Dietrich Urquhart. I'm actually a business owner of UCA Behavior Support Services, which is a mental health agency. I am a mental health practitioner, and I'm also a youth leader at Victorious Praise Fellowship Church of God in Christ, which I absolutely love. That's pretty much. I'm a sneakerhead, as you can tell.
How many pairs do you have, Doc? That's the reason why you can't find a place in this house where there ain't some shoes on the wall.
Probably approximately about close to 200 right now.
Now, are you the person that buy two pair, one to wear and one to keep for?
I used to do that. I used to do that. I don't anymore. Well, it depends on what type of sneaker.
I get you.
Because it depends on, because you can resell.
I get
So.
you. All right. I think Trey does the same thing. Hey, Harry, introduce yourself, man.
Hello, everyone. I am Harry Jones. I am a business owner located here in the Raleigh-Durham Research Triangle area. I'm a general contractor servicing your residential home needs, remodeling, restructuring, bathrooms, kitchens, you name it. If it has something to do with the home, I'm heavily involved in it.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, as we get started today, and I hope that you all are excited about our talk today. I want to know from you all, those of you that are on, what's the number one question? Pop up some questions in the chat that you would like to ask these men. We're talking about relationships, all types of relationships, intimate relationships, business relationships, friendship relationships, partner relationships. I'm also going to probably talk about the roles of men, the priest, the prophet, the provider, and the protector. But I would love for you to put some questions on the screen and let me hear from you and see. I just want to know what you all would like to hear from these men. I am really excited about this time to have a discussion with these brothers. You all hear from me a lot, but I want to get different perspectives moving forward. And I was just trying to get something to kind of set this up because there was something that I wanted to share with you all. And let me see if I can find it here. Give me just 1 minute. Because I think it's a very pertinent concerning our discussion here today that I think most of you all can appreciate and identify with as we get started. And let me see if I can get this to pop up.
You did one hell of a job, and the only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys? Yeah!
Hey, Pastor.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I ain't stunned y'all who counted us out. How about them Cowboys?
Pastor, my computer is messing up on me.
As a matter of fact, the brothers are going to be hosting a little after church football party this Sunday. Is that right, Lawrence?
Yes, this Sunday immediately after 10:30 service.
We're going to have some snacks and food and watch the game of the Cowboys and the Commodores, Callies, the Coverts. What's their name now? The C's, Lionel Richie and the Commodores. I don't know. What's that team name? I can't keep up with it.
Commanders.
Is that what it is? All right.
They're confused too.
Let me see if I got any questions that popped up for you, gentlemen. I don't see any questions, so let's just jump into this. When it comes to, so we got a couple of married guys, and I know, Harry, you've been through a marriage, and you're single now. Dietrich, I think I've always known you as a single, but I think you was married back in the day, if I'm not mistaken. So let's talk about your concepts or ideas about marriage. Maybe you can talk to us about how you chose your mate. Was it the right way to choose them? Anything that comes to your mind. Let's just talk about marriage from that perspective. Most people know that I'm going through a little struggle, not a little struggle, a big struggle, not a big struggle, a huge struggle in my marriage. But to this day, I feel like I chose the right person. The Bible says that God honors our choices. I think Dr. Grace was one of the most beautiful women in the world that I saw. But let's talk about that, because a lot of people think that you have to make the right choice and that God has this choice for you. So I'm just curious as to what are your perspectives on choosing your mate? And so let's start with the two married guys first. How about you, Trey? How in the world you end up with my daughter, India?
I did a lot of chasing to get to India, actually. Our story is pretty wild. We dated a little bit in high school, and then shortly after high school, me and her sister remained really good friends. And I used to always just talk on the phone with her sister a lot. I said, "Hey, tell your sister," I said, "What's up?" And she would never give me the time of day until just one day. This is just a short, brief story of how the story actually went. But one day she actually just gave in, and we've been talking ever since. But like I said, we dated shortly in high school. And she actually she dumped me for a senior actually at the time. So luckily I was like heavily involved in sports, so it didn't affect me too bad. But it still hurt a little bit, but I was able to move on quickly. But I still had it in the back of my mind. So right after high school, like I said, I was still making sure I stay in contact with her, letting her sister know to tell her I said what's up. But she would never give me the time of day until one day she actually happened. So I think actually I was actually going through some struggles dating at the time as well too. So during that time I was dating, and it was just heck. It was just a whole lot of conflict and just a whole lot of stuff going on. I actually prayed to Lord send me someone that's like heavily involved in church, and I didn't really know India was like heavily involved in church. I didn't know at that time that her grandma was a preacher or a minister or a pastor at the time. I didn't know none of her background for us like that, and then we finally started talking on a serious tip after we got older. And that's when I began to find out she actually was, I guess, a PK, you could say. Mm-hmm. And it was what the Lord had sent to me for as like the spiritual side. I was definitely looking for a woman with the spiritual side of that background, and that's what happened. So after I found out that, I was like, thank you, God. I think this is what I've been praying for. And also she was beautiful. So that's how it went with us.
Okay. How about you, Lawrence? I think, and I'm not for sure how this happened, before Lawrence got with Melissa, I think I was at the hospital and I ended up in the hospital room with Melissa's mom or something like that.
Yep.
And I'm not for sure exactly how that happened. And I don't even think you all were married at the time. I was there visiting someone else, and then I went by to visit. But go ahead and tell me about how you and Melissa, how do you end up choosing her?
All right. So you have to rewind back to college days. There was a social media site called College Club. So I used to just do small little things up there, whatever. And I saw her picture with her little Winnie the Pooh. And I was like, let me holler at her. She looked kind of cute. So we talked back and forth on social media. Coincidentally, my mom moved to Garner, which is where Melissa was from. So during a break, we met. I went to A&T. She went to West Ham State. We both were on break. We met at her sister's house face to face. And we had a conversation, a pretty good conversation. And then we went back to college. Kept talking on the phone. I borrowed people's cars to go visit her at Winston-Salem State because at the time I didn't have a car. So I had some good friends let me borrow their car to go visit her at Winston-Salem State. So we dated for a little while in college, and actually we broke up for 5 years. When you met her in that window of 5 years when her mom was in a bad accident and she was at the hospital. And you really blessed her when you went to go see her mom. And you didn't even know Melissa at the time. Melissa used to come to the church here and there, but you didn't know her. But the fact that you went to go see her mom really touched her. That's the reason why she joined the church.
Wow.
And in that period, we got back together and was like, you know what? I love you. You love me. Let's do this thing. 11 years later, two kids later, we're together.
All right. I would love to hear from the other gentleman here. One of the questions people ask is starting over, and how do you start over? What do you all think about starting over? What do you all think about dating? I think Lauren said he initially saw Melissa on social media. What do you all think about online social media, online dating? Yes, no, you're for it, you're against it. Who want to jump in on that one first? How do you start all over? Don't look like neither Harry nor Dietrich are in a hurry, but
no.
At least give me a perspective of your thoughts on starting over.
Are you going let me chime in on this because
Go ahead, man.
maybe I can find someone this podcast. Starting over, I think if I can be transparent about myself, me starting over, when I first moved here, my ex-wife, who I still have an amazing bond with right now, friendship, it's tough. It's tough starting over because I think I lost how to date, because I drained myself more into work than anything, into church. And then in North Carolina, and I might get backlash from this, but in North Carolina, I'm used to a woman that hustles, a woman that thrives, and honestly, when Pastor, I won't looking for the God fearing woman. That wasn't on my radar at that time, but I wasn't. But I mean, now how I literally got through a lot of things and even starting the day is by your teaching, to be honest. I remember years ago how you talked about the prophet, the priest, the protector, and I literally was going through a divorce at that time. And so I didn't know the tools that you was teaching, but it helped me to become the man that now I can honestly say I'm husband material. Your teaching taught me a lot, and I think that me and my ex-wife were young too, and so we went off what we saw more than substance, I should say. Okay. But it's hard to date. It is hard to date, but you got to put yourself out there. You gotta, you just got to put yourself out there into a right environment.
Okay. Somebody got something talking in the background. How about you, Harry?
Well, I want to address two things. Number one, first and foremost, one of the questions that a lot of people ask is, do you want to be married again? Do you wish to be married again? Yes, I want to get married again. I want to have a wife again. So let's get that out the air, number one. So, and then number two, to address the question that you asked earlier, Pastor, about the online dating. Me personally, myself, I guess I'm a little old school, and I'm not traditionally the online individual. I would prefer the old traditional way. Some may prefer online or the old traditional way, but me personally, myself, I'd rather walk up to a female, introduce myself, and start a dialogue that way versus the online ordeal.
Okay, so put yourself out there, and everybody can chime in on this. So I was on a cruise with my family, and I'm by myself, and I don't know what to do. And I said, well, how do you meet with people? So my brother said, well, you just, you go get in the hot tub, and other people come in the hot tub, and you meet them. And then I saw some of the people getting in the tub. I'm like, I don't know if I want to be in the hot tub with them. Okay, stop, Pastor Will. Okay, y'all don't like me. So here talking about traditional way. I don't know what traditional way is. So anybody want to jump in? Because a lot of people got questions about this. How do you do that?
The traditional way is show not the hot tub.
Why? Yeah, don't do the hot tub. Don't do the hot tub.
Don't do the hot tub.
The hot tub is not it.
See, I thought maybe it was the cruise ship that I was on, because I was on Carnival, and maybe I need to upscale my cruise ship.
No, Pastor, just don't do that. Don't do the hot tub.
Y'all,
Just go.
Don't like me.
Just some things to stay away from.
Yeah, stay away from the hot tub.
Stay away from the hot tub. Well, y'all notice these two married guys are real quiet, right?
Yeah, they can't say too much. Yeah.
Now I'll chime in. I'll say, I'm like Harry. I'd rather do the traditional. I would say this. So I would, see, like, I guess how their personality is through social media, but I would actually like to meet them in person, actually see, because you can get fooled a lot on social media. As I was dating back in the day, I did get fooled quite a bit of times. Just not even about their personality and just how they look as well too. Sometimes they hide like the way they look and just their personality, who they're around, what they do behind the scenes. Like on social media, just kind of a brief of what they actually do in their life. So they may not be showing that they smoke, and then you meet them in person, they lighten up a cigarette, and that may not be one of the things you like in a woman. So it's just, I just like hair. I'd rather kind of be in a good setting and maybe one of my good friends that know me they have a sister or a friend that knows somebody that maybe can match up that way. And that's how I got married in India. Actually, like I said, I was best friends with her sister at the time.
Okay,
so it wasn't.
That's a question came up about conflict, so let's jump on that. We have a few minutes left here, and obviously we got two married guys who can deal with conflict, but we got two divorced guys, which probably tell me that y'all probably didn't do conflict very well. Okay, stop, Pastor. So maybe what I learned is what not to do. Well, I know this don't work, Pastor Will. Okay, stop. But y'all talk to me. You know, I've really studied marriage, and conflict has been a passion of mine. And I believe you got to have a plan for it. You can't just ignore it because it won't go away. I've written a book. I got some stuff on about the 10 Commandments of conflict resolution. I'm just going to open up the floor. What do you all think about conflict, or how do you handle conflict? Have you learned about conflict from your past relationships, how you might do it differently? Go ahead, jump in. Who wants to start first?
All right, I guess I could jump into that one.
Okay.
I'll jump in the deep end. But no, when it comes to conflict, I would say one of the things that I've learned: don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Because what happens is none of those three things help you in a conflict. If anything, it causes the battle to rage even longer, because we as humans, we feel that we're always right. Hence the reason why we argue, because we feel like we're right. So I would say definitely don't criticize, condemn, or complain, and don't try to settle an argument while you two are heated, because all it does is it create a very long night.
And, you know, it's interesting that you bring that up, because I talk to those two things. That's something that I've just studied. And even though I'm still in a situation that I believe in God's truth. God teaches us that we should be peacemakers. And then he goes and teaches us. And the problem with most people is they just ignore what God says. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Dietrich, looked like you wanted to jump in on that.
So I look at conflict as a lot, and come up with conflict resolutions. And so conflict to me is when I had conflict in my marriage. One key part that is called listening. Listening can solve a lot, because then it can build healthy communication skills with your spouse. So dealing with conflict in my marriage, I think I was immature, and I didn't listen. Not only that, you taught me, even if you're mad at your spouse, you still don't sleep in another room. And so I remember everything that you taught about marriage that built me to the point of now, and learning how to listen to one another and communicate. I mean, you have to come up, like you said, you have to have a plan. You have to. You can't go to bed mad at one another. You gotta be on one accord with that. So I learned how to do conflict resolution skills and build that, even from a mental health standpoint. I just put it into action.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, Dietrich, because when I wrote in my second book, the workbook part, the 10 Commandments for Conflict Resolution, I actually learned those skills from the professional world, because they understand that people who fight all the time ain't gonna get the job done. And they talk about this, and we are not naturally conflict resolvers. We ain't even raised that way. I mean, you know, even when you think about our parents and how they raised us, if we were siblings and we got into a fight, our parents didn't teach us how to resolve our conflict. They just separated us and sent us to our room. Well, think about using that same technique now. Y'all walk around mad at each other for 2 weeks, not speaking, not having sex. That's the same thing that we learned as children. We didn't learn how to resolve conflict. We screamed and hollered. Sometimes the parents whooped us. Well, that's it. We got to punish each other because of this or that. So I think that those are good points. And I've just resolved myself to picking up, learning those skills, learning those techniques, because it's vitally important. The most important thing I think either you or Lawrence said was, don't do it when you're upset. Don't do it when you're angry. Don't try to resolve a problem. As a matter of fact, I try to tell people, don't let conflict get in the way of your conversation. A lot of people stop talking because they think conflict resolution and conversation is the same thing, and they aren't. Conversation is just to exchange knowledge. Conflict resolution is to get rid of these issues. And if all you do is conflict all the time, you will stop communicating and talking, especially when you don't know how to resolve it. How to resolve it. I want to go double back. Tamika said something which I thought was interesting, because she said, you know, a lot of people are against the social media for different reasons. But I love her comment. She says, do you all know that most people you meet on social media, you can also meet in real life and get to know them in person? It's not really that different. If a person's goals is to lie and to cheat, they will do that regardless of where you meet them. Yeah. If the goal is to be intentional about finding a mate, they will act accordingly. Hashtag Team Jeffries. And Tamika is saying that from experience, because her and her mate met online. I married them. They are together. She'll probably tell you they've had challenges and issues, but they are working through them just like anybody else. I often said, if I was to go back to dating, whether or not I would do online, I just don't know if it would be good to see your pastor on swipe left, swipe right. I don't know. Okay, y'all don't like me. I digress. Is that Pastor Will? Okay, stop. Somebody else asked questions about the workplace and business. So I'd love to hear from you all on your perspective as a man, your challenges, your struggles. I think one question was balancing the work-life balance. Trayvon, you got a business and you're working. You got a wife and 3 kids. I think Lawrence, you just started a new job. Your wife just started a new job. You got 2 little babies. Dietrich, you always been busy. Harry, you've always been busy. So talk about work, business, work-life balance. Tell me what you do, how you do, when you do, where you do. Anybody want to jump in first?
I'm always talking. So me, balancing working in business is a lot. I live by a mantra that's called STD, and I know that sounds familiar. I mean, crazy, but I live by a mantra. It says, and it means self-care, time management, and documentation. And I always say in business, if you don't do anything, if you don't do any self-care, there's no possible way you can balance anything out, period. There's no timing, no documentation, or anything. So I live by that in trying to create a balance when it comes to business. If you don't take care of yourself, there's no possible way that you can take care of your business or anybody else. So, and I learned that from actually you, Pastor. I just created my own mantra with it, but I seen how you was, I seen many times I went to you and you didn't came and you catastrophize the business plan. Like, whoa, I didn't think that way. I didn't think so. I learned a lot of my business skills from just listening to you and seeing how you move.
Okay, and the S was self-care. The D was documentation. What was the T?
No, T was time management.
Time management. Okay, awesome. Harry, you a businessman?
Honest and upfront is difficult. Managing the business and then trying to manage your life, being in ministry, it does get very, very difficult. By the grace of God, I figure it all out. But I know that it will get tougher if I was in the situation that Lawrence and Trey is in, which is being married. It will be more difficult for me to manage the stuff that I have going on. But I will also think that she would help to make it a little easier as well. But it is very difficult. I don't have the roadmap to it, so I can't say that I have the roadmap to the time management and the balancing out the work-life balance. So I'm still working on that.
I know that this was a struggle in my marriage. My wife always thought I spent too much time in work, when I just felt like I did what everybody else did, and it don't matter if I was doing it at church. If I was at IBM, this is the way I would work. If I was a basketball player, I would put all my time in that skill. If I was a football player, because I want to be the best. And some people are content with just going to work at 9 and getting off at 5, and their work-life balance is I go to work and I leave work at work. And then there are some people who want more, and so they strive to achieve more, and you realize you can't achieve more at 40 hours a week. And that became an area of contention for me. Even and I tried to balance it. I don't know if I did a good job of it or not. One of the things that I did was I scheduled multiple vacations and weekend getaways so that we could have that time. And so I would plan my vacations all year long. I would do at least 2 vacations to Vegas, 1 to Florida. We took trips on overseas, and that's what I tried to get my rest. I think you mentioned that in self-care, Dietrich, and that's what I look at. I tell people I don't try as much to balance my life as much as I try to get rest from my life, because sometimes life does not participate in your balance plan. Sometimes if like Lawrence, you got 2 children. Now, if you say, okay, I'm going to give 20% of my time to my children, and your 20% is up, and one of your children, they call you at school and one of your children had an accident, you can't say, I'm sorry, I've already put in my 20%. Right. So you got to do what you got to do. And then you worry about the self-care, or you get your rest later. I remember being in a professional group, and I was talking to other CEOs. I said, your business won't let you do 40 hours a week sometimes. Sometimes you got to do 70 hours. But then you make up for it down the road. And that's what I shared with my wife when we were building Victorious Praise. I said, we're going to have to go get it. I said, we're going to have to start. We're going to have to go make it happen. And we did. We started in our living room. We built a multi-million-dollar ministry. Now, I killed myself. I worked my behind off, but we did get it done. And years later, we taking vacations. We live how we want to live. We can wake up if we don't want to go in. My businesses are going. And so I handled my business up front, even though it still was a struggle for my wife, so that later on in life, I could get more and more time of relaxation. Let me get to my 2 married gentlemen to jump in on that.
I'll say some of the things I've learned from my mentor, how he was telling me, because he's a barber as well too. And he was saying some of the struggles that kind of helped him eliminate the balance of the being there for your wife. Of course, like if we at the shop cutting a lot of stuff and just making it happen, he said what he tried to do, the rule he tried to do is what hours he spend at the shop, he tried to find it some way to put it back in the home, for as like help fold the laundry. If he taking the morning shift or getting the kids ready for school to drop them off, or taking the afternoon shift to pick them up, or he take the kids to the extracurricular activities on certain days, just try to balance it out and just talk it all the way out. So that way she won't feel as if you're not doing anything or you're not there with the family. That you talk it all the way out, write it all the way out. So that way she go, okay, well, he is doing this. It's not a thing as if like he ain't doing anything. He's not even here. It's like, I feel like going that way is better than kind of you guys assuming of, okay, I'm doing this, but what are you doing? So I feel like talking it out and trying to find ways to implement the house would be the best way to go that I've learned. And we actually got that plan now. That's some of the ways we talked about things I can do to kind of help her out, because you're not doing every little single thing. So that's the way I learned so far.
All right, Lawrence, you want to jump in on this?
All right, so
one more question after this. I don't want to hold these gentlemen up because they got a work-life balance. No, they got an STD they got to deal with.
No, you don't.
Church. Oh, but you heard that Dietrich got STD, right?
Oh my God.
That's them church folks. Them church folks.
All right, so here a couple of things. I would say planning certain things, like me and Melissa, we planned date night with just me and her, and then also we plan time where family events, like we take the girls to the zoo, take them to like Sky Zone. So there's family time, and there's me and Melissa time, and then some of the stuff is on a regular basis type stuff. is find out what your mate needs from you. So we've kind of split up the pick up the girls from school, or the girls are in swim class. So sometimes I take the girls to swim class, or sometimes she take the girls to swim class. So we both have time for ourselves. Like I like to fish, so she let me go fishing so I can have my self care time. And then, sometimes I take the girls for the day and she have her self care time. So just giving each other space to have self care, and then also planning stuff for the family.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Well, listen, I want to do one more thing before you guys hop off, and I certainly want to appreciate you all and thank you all for coming on. And here's what I want to do: is there one question that those of you who are streaming want to hear from these brothers? Is there one thing? I may have missed it earlier, so if you have a question, go ahead and put it in the chat right now. I didn't want to take up too much of their time. All of them are professionals working at home or on the road, doing business. And I certainly appreciate you all for giving us this time. I think it's vital. And I wanted to hear from a man's perspective. We're going to double back probably in a month or so, and I'm going to do a women's perspective. Next week, I'm going to talk to couples. I want to bring on two couples and just have a conversation with couples concerning relationships. And then I got in another couple of weeks, I got a young lady. She's a pastor. She's an entrepreneur. She's a podcaster. She got her own podcast and doing a lot of great things. And we're just going to come and have a conversation. And in between, I'll still be doing my normal relationship lunch and learn. But if there's anybody, I didn't see a question pop up.
Hey, Pastor, can I comment on the conflict resolution that you were
right here? Jump in.
So one of the things that I learned over the years with conflict resolution is when in conflict, you have to consider the other individual. If you make it completely solely about yourself, you're not considering them. And I think when you consider the other individual, it makes it that much more easier to get through the conflict resolution.
Okay. Awesome. I don't think somebody asked a question about dating over 50. And I don't know that it would be any more difficult at 50 than it would be at 30. Harry and Dietrich, I don't think you guys are over 50.
I can't answer the question.
But he said,
I
is
can
anyone
answer that.
is over
Yeah.
50? Did you find dating hard? And I think both of you have already said that dating is complicated. Is that what both of you kind of alluded to?
It is.
I would say, I'll say it's challenging, but it's worth it.
Correct.
Okay. It's what?
It's worth it.
Okay. All right. And I'll be honest with you. If I ever do decide to do that, I probably will use the online system, because I just figured, I spend most of my time at home, women there. Okay, stop. I spend the other most of my time at church. Those are all my daughters. Okay, y'all ain't working with me.
Not all of them, but
He said not all of them. And then I'm back at home again because my church and my work is the same place. And so I think if I have to do that again, I think y'all gonna see Pastor on some of these sites. I'm sorry, but I don't know. I don't know, but I digress. So I love what you said. It may be hard, but it's worth it. Because I think God created us to be in relationships. And it's not that everybody is going to get married or everybody has to be married, but we are all connected. And we have to have those connections. And I thank God for my church family, because you all have been a strong connection. I thank God for these brothers. I know you all. I'm connected to you all. And I think we're going to do a boys trip up to
Memphis.
Is it Memphis? Okay, it ain't the cruise ship with the hot tub then. Okay, stop. That's the real. So we not doing the cruise ship with the hot tub. All right. We going to church, y'all. We going to Memphis. 3 or 4 of the guys gonna go with me, and we're gonna have a good time. But I certainly do appreciate you all coming on, and we'll have to do this again. I may bring you all back for different reasons. I definitely would like to get Dietrich and Harry back, perhaps, and maybe even Trey on some of our discussions when we start talking about business relationships, because that's going to be vitally important. Have you always been an entrepreneur, Dietrich, or have you worked for people as well?
I have worked for people. I've been employed.
What's that?
Yes, I have been employed.
Okay. All right. I think ever since I've known you, you've probably been an entrepreneur, right?
That's correct.
And I think, Harry, when you first came here, you may have been working for somebody, but lately you've always been out there in hustle mode, I think.
Yes, sir. I started out in corporate America.
Okay.
So first, I started out in tobacco field first, then corporate America.
Trayvon is getting ready to shift from corporate America into entrepreneurship. So that's going to be a huge move for him. And Lawrence is just getting started. He then came out of working in the food industry, and now you're in finance. So that's a whole completely different change. How is that working out for you, Lawrence?
It's a lot of learning involved for me because I was in the grocery industry for 20 years. So to shift from groceries to finance has definitely been a big challenge, but I've definitely been up to the challenge. I've, getting my licensing and everything. That was a totally different language. When you hear the word securities, before I got into the securities business, it meant something totally different. So it's definitely been a learning curve, but I've enjoyed every bit of the way.
Awesome. Well, brothers, thank you. Listen, I want to receive a offering for our ministry. They give us this platform, but before that, if I could just minister to everyone a few last words.
You did one hell of a job, and the only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys?
Okay, I just know that somebody needed a word of encouragement. You've been feeling a little down, and I want to give you a little word of encouragement.
You messed up the church's money by doing that.
Man, what you talking about here? They paying tithes and offering. You tripping?
You losing tithes.
Y'all, I'm actually going to a Cowboy Stadium for Thanksgiving. So y'all may see me on the 50-yard line with my pom-pom.
No, no pom-pom.
Listen,
it's a rematch from last night, though. Just remember that.
What's that?
It's a rematch from last night.
Okay.
Harry, you sounding like a church hater.
No, I'm not a church hater.
Well, you just a hater. Let me just say generally.
I'm a Giants fan, not a Cowboys fan.
Listen, everybody, if you don't mind, I would love for you to sow a seed. You've enjoyed this, and I want to let me do 2 things. The first one is I want to challenge you to sow a seed. I want to tell you about this is going to be rebroadcast on our podcast, and I would love for you all to support that. Let me bring this up real quickly. I will, for real, you talking about the Tigers, the Steelers. I don't know about that. This ain't gonna be their year, Will. You might as well just go ahead and accept that. Will talking about the Steelers. I hope they win another game. But because I'm always for the black coach or the black quarterback, but it's not looking good for the Steelers this year. But y'all join us this Sunday. We're going to, after service, the brothers are hosting a football watch party with the Cowboys and the Commanders. So we'd love for you all to join us. If you would like to sow a seed, you have all of these different ways. You can download our mobile app at victoriouspraise.org. You can go to our website /giving, or you can text to give. Whatever the Lord places on your heart. I'm going to sow a $21 seed this goes to our church. It helps to support everything that we're doing, this platform that we're on, and all the different things that the Lord has blessed us as a ministry to do. And I certainly appreciate these brothers coming on and sharing with me. Next week, I think we're going to have 2 couples on, and we're going to have a great discussion. But I appreciate anything that you all will do in support of our ministry. Just go there and any of those devices. As a matter of fact, while you are doing that, I'm going to do the same thing myself. And if you use the mobile app, it'll record all your giving, and you can use that for your tax purposes. We'll send you your tax statement as a result. But let me just let you all know how much I appreciate your support. I think somebody told me how much they enjoyed it. I almost got confused, Lawrence. I saw Lawrence come on and say, I really enjoyed your conversation. I said, why is Lawrence congratulating himself? And then I realized it was your dad who was on the commenting. But thank you all. If you can sow a $21 seed or whatever the Lord has placed in your heart, please feel free to do so. I would greatly appreciate it. Just put it as an offering. It'll go straight to the church. And
Pastor.
Well, I certainly appreciate that, man. And to all of you, thank you all for your support. And we will give you all the praise, Lord, and the glory in Jesus' name. Brothers, you all have a great day. Let me pray. Father, we thank you and we praise you, Lord, for this time that we've been able to share. We thank you for the word, Lord, that has been covered. Lord, I ask you, Lord, to let somebody get blessed, even on our podcast, that they will hear this later, and we will give you the praise and the glory in Jesus' name. Amen. Let me give you all the podcast link. Those of you that would like to go back and listen to this or share it with somebody, they can always watch it right here on Facebook or YouTube. But sometimes when you're driving in the car, I'll just pop on the podcast and listen to all the previous episodes. And you can get to that by just simply either going to any podcast platform and searching for Pastor Will Relationship Bootcamp Podcast, or going to the link that you see on the screen there, which is anchor.fm/Wilbur-Nichols. Yep, that is my name. But thank you guys. We appreciate you, and everybody that's watching. Don't just live life, live a victorious life, and have an amazing day. God bless you. You all have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.